guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our college football week 4 preview and picks. As always, I got Ty with me here. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, just to 200 subscribers, where we will be doing that giveaway. But Ty, before we get into this week's picks, we'll look at your 12-1 week. And of course, it's Michigan State that screws it up for you.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, just a atrocious performance, honestly. The defense looks just as bad, if not worse, than it was last year. I know I'm biased, but I mean, I think anyone would say that they just look terrible on defense and they can't run the ball. So, not sure what's going on there. But other than that, it feels like I went 13-0 because obviously we're Michigan fans. So, I was rooting for Washington. So, it feels like a win anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And, I had some two upset picks, I guess you could have say. Could have went either way. The BYU, that one kind of got out of hand late. But other than that, I kind of went on the limb. And obviously, as you can tell from my record, I'm not afraid to go that way. But we'll try to start it off on a good week this week. Obviously, I'm going with my boys in blue, the Michigan Wolverines. And, it's the first big test, you could say, even though they're favored by 17. And I think this really could be a trap game because we don't really know what this defense is going to be made of. And how they can handle good teams, not great teams, good teams. But I think Michigan will win. I don't know if they'll cover, but they do have one of the most high-flying offenses in the country. So maybe Michigan, puts it to them.
Yeah, the only way Maryland keeps this close is if Tagovailoa has one of his huge performances. He's due for about one or two a season. So maybe this is one of them. And Maryland can score a lot. It's just they can't stop anybody at all. Anyone with a pulse on offense, they can't stop. So I think that'll be more of the same this week. I think Michigan will put up at least 40. They might give up, 28, something like that. But I think Michigan still wins comfortably. I think JJ has another big game.
And then on ABC, I'm going with the first upset of the week. I'm going with Wake Forest, and this is strictly based on quarterback. I think they have the better quarterback, and Wake Forest escaped last week against Liberty by 1 point. So I think they're going to come in this week guns a-blazing and, upset Clemson. And honestly, I think these teams would probably flip rankings as well. Maybe Wake Forest jumps in the top 5 because this is such a big win. But Clemson, I don't see them dropping out of the top 10 if they do lose this game.
Yeah, I would take Wake Forest, but I'm not going to lie, that scare from Liberty last week kind of swayed me the other way. I know maybe they were just looking ahead to this game, but still, defense looks like a concern for Wake Forest. I like Clemson in the under here. I think Clemson's defense is going to be the difference. I think they'll be able to shut down Sam Hartman just enough, and they'll barely get out with a win.
And another game that we thought, probably wouldn't have been a big game in week 4 heading into this season, but it is Baylor, looking to keep their hopes alive in the college football playoff. And we got Iowa State looking to rejuvenate their hopes and put their hat in the ring here. If you can get this win, which we both think they're going to get here, this Iowa State team could be back.
Yeah, you see it every year. Iowa State underrated, and Matt Campbell just gets this team playing towards the top of the Big 12. Obviously, Baylor doesn't look as good now after BYU got manhandled last week. So I'm going Iowa State at home, and they're getting 4-0.
And the battle of the blue bloods of college basketball, take it on the football field. And, game day, we were talking about it. Probably should have went here to Kansas just because how many times is it going to be in Kansas? But we are going to pick the Jayhawks as well in the battle of 3-0 unlikelies.
Yeah, Kansas, they're kind of legit this year. I'm not going to say they're fully legit, but they can score. And they just won at Houston last week by, I think, 18. So I'm going Kansas at home. Watch out for the Jayhawks.
And moving over to the 3:30 slate after all those games are done, we got where game day is. The Gators versus the Volunteers. And this is a big game for both these teams, especially more Florida, depending on what we're going to really see out of this team. AR hasn't really thrown at a touchdown this year, so we're still looking for his first passing touchdown. The Vols, I just think they're looking really good this year. Under Hupel, they got it all clicking, and I think they will win in Rocky Top.
I'm going to say Tennessee covers here. I think Tennessee wins by 21. I think they're going to blow out Florida. I think Florida is not a good team. I don't know how they beat Utah. I think that was a bit of a fluke, but I think Tennessee dominates this game.
Another game, if you like scoring, I think this will be your game. Texas and Texas Tech. Quinn Ewers could be possibly returning. It's not officially confirmed, but there is possibility of hope that Ewers does play this game. If not, more than likely he will be playing next weekend. And that's just great news for Texas fans. Obviously, the Alabama game, that it could have been a whole different story here, but it was what, 4 to 6 weeks, and then it was 2 to 3, and then now it's almost at a minimum of 2. And that's just great news. Obviously, he's recovering a lot faster than before. And on the good news, I think he will maybe not play the whole game, but I think he will get some reps in at quarterback just to conservative, keep him healthy. They don't want him taking too many hits right away. And I think that's going to be enough for Texas to go in there and get the win.
Yeah, I think Texas being finally ranked, everyone telling them they're back. I just think this is a big trap game for them going to Texas Tech, who's a decent team this year. And I think Texas Tech's going to pull the upset of the week here and knock off Texas.
And at 3:30, I'm going with technically the upset here, even though they're favored. I'm going with the Golden Gophers. And last year we saw it in Michigan State be the team that kind of came out of nowhere and put up a ton of wins. And I think this year, if Minnesota can win this game, they are probably the favorite to be that team in the Big Ten, to give everyone a run for their money. Obviously, Michigan State side is loaded in the conference, but Minnesota side, however, that one's up for grabs. Them, Iowa, Wisconsin are pretty much the three favorites every year to win it. And if Minnesota can get this win, I think they would be more than likely the favorite to win that side of the conference.
Yeah, I think Michigan State bounces back this week. I like the over a lot in this game, I will say. I think Minnesota is obviously going to be able to throw the ball well on this defense because they have a quarterback with a pulse, and any team that has that is going to throw on Michigan State. But I think Michigan State will be able to run the ball much better than they did last week. I think that'll be the difference. I think they win a close game here at home.
And at 4, we got Oregon, Washington State, and I think you got to go with the Ducks here after, their dismal week 1 performance against Georgia. That team, you can just throw out that tape. This is a completely different team these last 2 weeks. Oregon has looked much better on offense, getting things going quick. And I think they're going to hand it to Washington State as well, and they're definitely going to cover.
Yeah, I agree. I think Washington State's a little overhyped from their kind of fluky win at Wisconsin. And I think Oregon looks way better, like you said, than they did week 1, dominating BYU. So I'm going to go with the Ducks on the road. I think they cover as well.
And then moving over to the night slate, we got Arkansas going on the road to take on Texas A&M. And kind of like, every year in the SEC, there is always an SEC team that not comes out of nowhere, but a team you didn't really think that would be pretty solid to start. And for me, that's Arkansas. And I think they're going to go in there and get a big win as well and really vault this team up in the rankings. There's always the SEC, it's Georgia, Alabama, but there's always a really good third team that's, finishes 10-2. And I think that could be Arkansas this year if they can go in there and get the win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Aggies here. This game is going to be a good one to watch. These two teams, it seems like they always play a really close and good game, but I'm going to go with the Aggies in a really close one here. I think Arkansas, watching them struggle last week against a much inferior team, I just don't think they're going to have enough against that A&M defense.
At 7:30 on ABC, you got a game going into the year that probably would have been a more anticipated matchup than it really is. OSU's favored by 18.5. They're finally figuring things out on offense after putting up 77 on Toledo last week. And how can you bet against Ohio State at home in wearing their black uniforms? I'm sure that's going to be pretty cool to see. And, the Buckeyes, I think, are going to put up almost at least 40 on this Wisconsin team.
Yeah, I think Ohio State covers. Unless I'm missing something, I think that line is much too low. Wisconsin, I just don't see them moving the ball very well. And if you're trying to play catch up with Ohio State and you're a team like Wisconsin, good luck, because this is a run first team. They always have been. So it's going to be a struggle for them. Ohio State will win comfortably.
At 8, we got Kansas State going on the road to take on Oklahoma and Dylan Gabriel. And I think Dylan Gabriel is going to be the key part here. He's been a very solid quarterback to start. And, that should be 3-0 there. I don't know why it's 3-1. But the Sooners have looked very good. Like Lincoln Riley never left. Even Caleb Williams never left because they're putting up points left and right, getting big wins. And I think this is another one they're going to add to their resume.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should cover. Again, maybe I'm missing something, but 13 just seems way too low for this one. Kansas State is just not very good this year. So I'm going with the Sooners in a rout here. I think they win by, I'll say, 21.
And then looking at the Pac-12, the night slate for all the West Coast viewers and people that stay up late, USC is only favored by 7, and this could be their first trap game of the year. going on the road to Oregon State. That over/under of 71 concerns me, and I think that 7 is a fluky line. And so I'm going to go with USC and the over, and they cover as well. I think this will be a 2-3 touchdown win for the Trojans. 71 points is a lot of points, but that really shows you how high scoring the Trojans team has been this year. I think they're averaging like 50 points a game or something. And I think they'll be in that 40 to 50 range, and USC wins a big one.
I'm going to go the other way here. I think this will be a close win for USC. I think sometimes people fall in love with the teams that are scoring a bunch of points to start the season, but I think the defense is a bit of a concern for USC. And Oregon State's a really underrated 3-0 team that no one's really talking about, but they're a solid team this year, so I think they'll hang right in. But I think USC, the talent will kick in late and they'll come out with a win.
And then the last game on the schedule, we got the Broncos officially sporting a new logo. So we're putting it in here. And we are both going with the Broncos on the road. And we think they need a much needed win on the road to, before they really start off the conference play. If you can go in 2-2 with their out of conference schedule, it was a pretty solid schedule. And, I think Western can do it. It's just a matter of if they really want it more.
Yeah, I think that's a really disrespectful line to my Broncos, to be honest. San Jose State, they're nothing special. And the Broncos are playing defense this year, which they haven't done maybe ever. And they're actually making stops. Offense needs to improve a little bit, but, they're not exactly playing a dominant team here. So I'm going with the Broncos on the road. Flying out west, doesn't matter. They're getting the win.
And that's going to be it for the video today. Make sure you guys tune in next week to see how we did and also our top 25 rankings after these week's games. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.